I am with Mrs. Dawn Coutts, who had a substantial involvement in Moorfield Racecourse in the early 1950s. Dawn is now going to tell us about her involvement at Moorfield Racecourse. Dawn.
Oh, hello. Well, I started off just riding hacks around the car park at Moorfield, and I was approached with a girlfriend of mine, Joan, and we both had a hack, and we used to go to gymkhanas, which were held in the car park at Moorfield, and I lived in the street that went down straight into the main gates, which
that was
Hogman Street. Yes, and I lived in Hogman Street. So on race days and everything, see all the people and everything going down. Anyhow, getting back to the riding our hacks in the car park and going to the gymkhanas, we were approached one day by one of the trainers who wanted a couple of his horses ridden in the car park just every afternoon. Just walk for an hour and a half or whatever, So that's how I started getting involved with racehorses.
And you could actually ride horses?
Oh, yes. I'd ridden. I can't really remember when I couldn't ride a horse, because my dad and I had two uncles trainers, and I suppose I was put on a horse before I could even walk. So through the years, I used to go everywhere we went where there was horse rides. That would be me, and we'd get on them. So I really could ride. By the time I was 12, 13, I was really could ride. And then I had a godfather who had a big property in the country, and of course went up there, and of course horse mad, went around up there. But back with the horses, yes. So that's how I started with the race horses, by just going around. And then Joan said to me one day, she said, "Listen," she said, "I know a trainer that," she said, "I've already ridden his horse around the track." So that's how I got to go onto the track real early in the morning, before the caretaker arrived.
So what time would that be, Dawn?
Oh, 4:30.
Very early.
Yes, very early.
Yes.
And we'd ride a couple of the racehorses around there, just slow work, just very slow work. And this, went on, for quite a long while. And then I continued riding the racehorses. Just there was that many back lanes around this area and around Moorfield area and everything. You just exercise in the afternoon, and I used to walk them to the track and everything. And
my question is, how did you avoid being detected as a girl on the racetrack?
Very interesting, actually. I don't know. We just got there pretty early before anyone else, and we were probably gone before anyone else arrived.
No
yes, we put our hair,
up
under a
the
cap.
hat?
Yes, up under a cap. Yes.
I'm now going to ask Dawn about the track work regimen for the horses, and also what happened in the context of taking horses down to the beachfront.
Yes, that was lovely, taking the horses down there. It was fun. And the horses enjoyed their swimming in the water. Most times we actually rode them in bareback into the water, but then there was always someone there with a little rowboat, and someone sat at the back of the boat and held onto the horses' reins, and they went out a little further than we could swim them out. Yes, and that was really, really good.
And then what about the track work then during the week?
Track work during the week, Tuesday, Thursday was fast work, and the rest of the week was just slow work. Sunday, track was closed Sunday, didn't do anything there, just walked the horses on a Sunday. And yes, that was very, very good. And I had a lot of years in my teenage years that was fun, and I really appreciate it, yes.
We're now going to talk about the role of women in racing. This includes country racing as well as city racing, and Dawn is going to elaborate on this. So, Dawn, what role did women play in country racing at the time?
Back in the 50s and the 60s, there was quite a lot of women in the country racing. There wasn't too many like in Sydney, but they did come to Sydney and race their horses in Sydney.
Yes, Dawn, I think on one occasion, many years ago, I did have the opportunity to meet with Betty Lane Hollis,
yes,
who had trained.
Yes. I never met her, but I'd been to the races and saw her, numerous times when she brought her horses to Sydney. And then I think finally she did come to Sydney and train in Sydney there for a time. I'm not sure about that. I just feel that she did, though. I can remember that.
And what about the role of women as strappers? I mean, today...
Yes, well, there wasn't too many around. There's different world today.
If I might just interrupt you, today we see the strappers, the female strappers, parading with taking the horses.
Oh, there's probably more female strappers than male strappers.
That's
right.
Today.
That's
right. Yes.
Yes. Back in the 50s, I think probably the late 50s, the AJC registered the strappers, lady strappers, and from then on it finally picked up, and I think since the lady jockeys have come on the scene, there's been more lady strappers. Yeah, and I think a lot of the stables have got more women working actually strappers than the men. I think probably, and they ride work and everything, and probably because a lot of them are small, their weight compared to they have trouble getting apprentices and everything. Yes, I just think it could be a combination of that.
Dawn became a horse trainer in Sydney, and she's now going to take the opportunity to tell us about her journey to become a horse trainer in Sydney.
Yes, it was. I always wanted to be a trainer, and I knew there was trainers in the country and everything, and I thought, well, I'll have a go at going in and seeing how I go about it. Then I found out that I had to have a horse first, and I could only lease a horse or be an owner trainer. I couldn't be a trainer unless I went to the country like a lot of the other ladies and get a country licence. So we leased. I wasn't long after I was married actually, and I said to my husband, what I'd like to do, and he was all for it and everything. So I think it was early 1962. We leased a horse, Bransong, and that's Bransong.
And that photograph is
that's down the beach at Sandringham.
Down at Sandringham.
Yes. So 1962, we leased this horse, Bransong, and after we'd had her for a few months, finally got her to the track, and I knew that she had something wrong with her. She'd been had a big layoff. She was a 4-year-old, reasonably good 2-year-old. Didn't race as a 3-year-old because there was something wrong. And as a 4-year-old, when we got her, she had 3 or 4 starts, but finally she broke down, and we had to give her back again. Then we went down to Melbourne, bought a couple of horses down there, and they weren't much good. So the next few years went on, and I had a lot of fun with that. Then, of course, the family came along, and that sort of ended my racing and training. I intended to get back to it, but as you know, things happen, and I didn't. Yeah, but I kept an interest in racing all the time.
So, how did you actually get your licence?
Right.
What did you
have
to do?
That's right. Yes. Then I had to go around and get a few references off the trainers at Moorfield, and which I did. And
which trainers did
there
you use?
There was one from Canterbury, Jackie Miller, and I'm trying to think now. There was another 2 trainers. Bob, what's his name?
Bob Mead?
No. Bob had finished training by that time, I think. I can't remember the name of the other 2. Anyhow, front of the AJC, and they asked me a lot of questions, and then I found out that one of the committeemen owned the mare, that this horse that I'd leased, that he owned that years before, and it was just a coincidence. I got this horse, and finally, after a few weeks, it came through that they granted me an owner trainer's licence, and it was, really, really good. Mm-hmm. And as far as I know, I think I was always told that I was the first lady with the AJC, and that was 1962.
Well, that's quite an honour, Dawn. Yeah. To conclude, I'm going to ask Dawn to tell me some interesting facts about Moorfield and racing in general when she actually became a trainer?
Yes, well, as I said before, the taking the horses down to the beach was a highlight of the week. You know, you probably took them down once, probably only once a week. And then as the years went on and I became a trainer, my horse was stabled down at St Susie or Sandringham at Darby McNamara Stables.
And the stables were located where, Dawn?
Yes, I had stables at Walter Street, St Susie at Darby McNamara's, and from there we used to go down to Botany Bay, and of course in those years there was wet sand on the beach. These days you can't see any sand, and there were sand hills, and we could gallop the horses along the beach from Brighton to Sandringham. You know, it was very, very, very good.
And that's amazing, given that you know, that level of sand doesn't exist anymore.
No, it doesn't.
And do you have any memories of any of the Moorfield trainers?
Oh gosh, yes.
Dawn is now going to provide a couple of stories about horses that she was involved with.
Right. First of all, I had this hack given to me because the owner was going away to the country, and I had him for quite a long while, and he was an old horse and everything, and I used to ride him in the gymkhanas. Anyhow, the owner came back one day and took him back, and I thought, oh gosh, now I haven't got a hack. But finally I did. Georgie Hanna, a trainer from Moorfield, gave me Highbrow, and he said he wasn't going to race him anymore, and so I needed to fatten him up and everything, which I did. And I had him for 6 months or more, and he looked so good. George said to me one day, he said, I think I'll take him back and, you know, just see how he goes on the track again and see what he wants to do. Anyhow, he finally got him to the races and raced him, won his first 2 races. So I thought, gosh, I must be doing something right by fattening him up enough to get to the races and win. If you'd have seen Bransong, I should have brought the photo of Bransong when we first got her. She, it was just, if I'd have really told you the story right from the word go, Jack my late husband was having a drink in the hotel at Cogra one night, and he was talking to someone, I still don't know to this day who it was, and this chap said to him, he said, now you said you're interested, you know, and you want a horse, or your wife wants a horse. He said, I know this chap Ray Noakes, he's got a horse that doesn't race anymore and he wants to lease it. So we went up to have a look at her, and she was up at Castlereagh, like dirt, like that. Little bits of grassy. She was that poor. If you see the photo I've got of her, oh, she was that poor. Oh, it was terrible. She wouldn't have lasted another 2 or 3 weeks there. She'd have died. And that's how I got Bransong. That's how I got her, actually. You know, I probably might have looked around for something else, but because I saw that horse and the condition she was in, and you asked me then how I finally got her to the track. Well, for quite a long while, you know, before, say a horse is going to have its first race, we'll say when it was going to have its first race for me, it took about 4 months, and probably wouldn't have been quite that long had she not been in the condition that she was. But anyhow, you know, you fatten her up, and then you walk them, and then you slow canter them, and you fast canter them, until finally you get into a stage where you do a little bit of fast work on them. And the beach is excellent.